So we're actually going to have a two-part series for this week and for next week. So in case you're wondering why my picture here is colored, it's because I colored it for next week, of course. So we're actually going to be creating just the drawing today. So we're not going to be adding any color. Again, we're only going to need a paper, a pen and pencil, and a Sharpie. Now I say Sharpie, but really it's just as long as you have I don't know, a pen that won't run with water, you're good. So I say Sharpies all the time just because they're trustworthy in that regard. I have 3 sizes of Sharpie. It's really up to you. What you have, use what you have, okay? No need to go out and get any fancy materials.
Hannah,
Welcome to
question.
Yeah.
This is Judy. Can you, if you're doing watercolor next week, can you do this on a canvas board?
Ooh, yes, you can.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I know a lot of people don't know this, but yes, you can absolutely use watercolors on canvas board, whatever you've got.
okay, maybe I'll do the canvas board.
I,
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
excited. Yeah, I love it when people bring in different surfaces or just really anything new. Makes me really excited. So again, we will be doing of just the black and white version of this picture. And then next week, we're going to put some color to it. And I actually use mixed media paper. It's nothing fancy. I feel like I got this at Michael's maybe. So regular, no, I got this one at Walmart. They sell this one at Walmart. So regular mixed media paper. This one happens to be a 9 by 12 inch, but really I encourage you to use any size you have, as long as it's a little bit stiffer and it's able to withstand some water on top of it for next time, you're good. So if you're wondering whether or not your pens will be able to withstand water for next week, then I do encourage you to try a little bit of a tester. So you can get any kind of scrap piece of paper. Let's see if I can find some scrap. So any kind of scrap paper, and make a little mark on it, maybe a few marks, and then take your brush and a little bit of water and put some water on top of it, and that'll tell you right away if it runs or not, if it flows. So we have a lovely butterfly here, complete with a flower and a mosaic type background. Well, I say mosaic, but I actually think it's more like a glass cutting of some sort. That's actually what I had in mind whenever I created this. And this is actually all thanks to a previous picture that we did a few weeks ago, actually, in which we created a stained glass like picture with a very similar background to this. And so this is inspired by one of the students there, or a couple of people there actually. So I wanted to go through how to create a butterfly, how to break down the patterns that you see, and then also how to create this very simple rose. However, I really highly encourage you guys to create whatever butterfly you want, as many butterflies as you want, also as many flowers as you want. So I don't want you guys to feel limited to what you see here. Also, please choose what kind of colors you're going to use. Now, of course, we're not going to use colors today, so just sort of think about it for later on. So butterflies have all sorts of different shapes for their wings. So these are a few examples of some other butterflies that I taught last week for another class. So as you can see here, this butterfly's wings, they stick up quite a bit. They're very much angled. This one right here, not quite as much, but still pretty angled. And then this one right here, they're pretty droopy, right? So not nearly as much of an angle, a little bit more straight. They sort of droop down quite a bit. Now that's for the top wing, okay? So the bottom wing is a little bit different. The bottom wing, depending on the species, can go underneath the top wing, so like this one right here, we just see a little peek of it down here. However, some of them, I guess you can kind of mostly see it here, and then the original. Some of these wings actually do sit quite on top. So the bottom wing sits on top of the top wing back here. If you're looking for a more stylized approach, you can kind of see right here where I very much emphasize seeing both of those wings as if they were transparent. So think about what style you like. The bottom wing for this one, it has a little, I don't even know what this thing is called, but it's got like a little thing sticking out here. I wish I had a term for you. But if you wanted to include that, I'll show you how to draw that much later. So think about how many you would like. Think about how big it's going to be. I knew that I wanted to pay attention to the inside of the butterfly wing. I knew that I wanted to put a little bit of a pattern. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can see swirls in there. That's really more coming out of my head, really. I mean, I don't know how many butterflies are out there that actually have little swirlies like that. So same thing with the rose. I wanted to be a lot more stylized with this one. So think about those things as we create our butterfly. So let's begin. Anyone have questions so far? All right. So let me grab my pencil. I have to sharpen this down. I have my eraser close by. I always end up using the ends of the erasers pretty quickly, so that's why I always keep the larger one nearby. Now your butterfly. Remember those wings that I mentioned, okay? They always start out, well, I always start out with drawing the middle of the butterfly. So that would be the head, I think this is the thorax, which is the middle, and the abdomen. So I'll show you guys how to draw that. That's what I start out with. Now, I am going to start out pretty small because I know that I want plenty of space for my wings. I'm actually going to go a little closer so you guys can see it closer. Now, let's say I want my butterfly to face this way. So I'm going to go ahead and angle the body this way. Now, I feel like that's probably pretty big. I mean, I know that there's a lot of space on here, but I feel like that still means that the wings are going to have to come out quite a bit. So I wasn't kidding when I suggested to draw it really small. So I've drawn the head, and it's just a simple circle. Then we can start out with the thorax, which is going to be more like an upside down triangle. Now I always have to adjust it. And you guys see me, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but you see me pressing down pretty hard. But I do highly encourage you guys to not press down nearly as hard as I am. Mostly, I want you guys to see what I'm drawing. So that's why I'm pressing down hard. So that's the middle. I'm going to think of these two parts right here as shoulders. And that'll come into play later. The shoulders will be important later. And then the tummy, the abdomen is going to come out. And I'm going to round it out at the bottom. Now, every butterfly is different. Some are a little bit longer. Some are a little bit thicker. Every butterfly type is different. Now, mine's angled that way, but of course, yours does not have to be angled that way. Now, I'm just going to move my picture around just to kind of make it a little bit easier for me to envision the wings. Now, I feel like I might want the wings to be more angled this time around. And if you're new to this class, you'll notice that I always like to point. I always like to point every time I'm getting ready to draw something. It helps me to visualize exactly where I'm going. If you're able to, you can sort of point with both your fingers. So I know that I want my butterfly wings to be very angled and really standing up. So I'm going to start on the shoulders. And in fact, most of your butterfly wings, they're always going to start at the shoulders right there. So I'm going to start by drawing the top wing. And again, I do encourage you guys to press down lightly. That way it'll be a little easier erasing if you need to do that. And the thing that I find the most difficult about butterflies is the symmetry. And that's why I like to try to use both my fingers and I like to try to draw them out. That way I can get a better sense of how to make it more symmetrical. And of course, over here, I have more space to draw on this side than I do on this side. So I feel like I'm gonna have to maybe adjust the wing a bit because it looks like it goes off the page over here.
I have a
So I can,
question about because you're erasing now.
yeah.
Um, are you eventually going to erase what's underneath it? It's like, you know, I'm trying to figure out like how dark should my pencil be? Should I go for light? Because it's just
Oh, good point. Let me think about this. I don't think I'm gonna erase this because, and I say that because I'm happy with the body shape here, so I'm not gonna really erase it. And we're really just working on the drawing. So if you're happy with the way it looks, later on, whenever we're completely finished with this, we're gonna go over it with our Sharpie markers or our pens. So it's gonna stay in place. Did that answer your question, Karen? Okay, good. Perfecto. Okay, so I know that this wing is sort of stops up here. This one, however, has plenty of space. If you take a look at this drawing right here, you can clearly see that this one's going off the page as well. I like to actually, in order to keep it symmetrical, I like to, after this portion, the one that we just did right now, I like to jump down to the bottom and create that bottom wing for both sides. After I make the bottom wing, then after that, I can connect the two upwards. So it goes down at an angle. And again, it also starts right here at the shoulder. So I can kind of make it go down at an angle. And depending on your butterfly, it can be pretty short up here. It can be pretty long up here. It may just depend on preference or whether or not you're creating a specific butterfly. Now, I constantly am looking back and forth just to make sure these are at least a similar length. If you happen to have a ruler next to you, you can kind of eyeball it, or you can kind of look at a ruler and just kind of see if it's correct or not, or correct-ish, I should say. And I think it's correct-ish, so I'm not really gonna do anything to it. Now, this one is the one that's off the page. So I'm gonna start with this one because it's not off the page. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect the two. Now it's mostly not off the page. There we go. Fix that. Do the same thing for the other side. Going to envision that I see the end of it right around here. Right around here. I'm gonna reach up. Now it's impossible to, unless you're like a drawing genius, It's impossible to completely get it to be the same exact size. Now I can already see that this one is a little bit smaller than this one. So for me, I can always erase it and maybe change the angle. Now that's for me. If you'd like for me to take a look at yours, then I would love to do so. I think I'll just maybe give more space. Just a small change in that I think was good. Any questions so far? The silence is killing me. I hope you're doing good.
I teach a lot and I understand the hating the silence.
Do people understand? Do you not understand?
Yeah.
You get it.
We're
you get
here.
it.
We're here.
Good, good, good. Okay. Deep breath, everyone. You can do
Hannah,
this.
can you
Uh-huh.
show the other butterfly for a second? There was,
Yeah.
I think I really like that one. No, the other one,
On this page or the original?
the original, I think. Yes, the
There you go.
original.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, feel free to actually, if you have your phone around, feel free to actually take a picture with your phone if you need to, or I don't know, maybe take a screenshot with your computer if you're using your computer. I mean your phone, is what I meant to say. We'll keep this up for another second. Yeah, that way you guys have it nearby. And if you need me to show the other ones, then let me know too. All right, guys. So I am going to do mine a little bit differently from this one. I want to make these little ends on my bottom wings. So before I do that, though, I definitely just have to draw the whole thing as if those didn't exist just yet. So even if you want these little things sticking out, just draw the whole thing as if it doesn't exist, and then I'll show you guys how to add it on. Figure out whether or not you want to keep it over or under the top wing. Now that may not matter just yet, because what I like to do, no matter what I choose to do, I like to actually draw that line anyway. So I like to draw this top line of the bottom wing. I like to draw it anyway, because it just helps me to keep track of everything. Again, it's going to start in the shoulder area, right around here. So I'm going to have it go down, and yours can be round or it can be more square. It can be a little bit more neither of the two, a little bit more wobbly, like this line is a little wobbly. Totally up to you. And before I finish the rest of it, I don't know about you guys, but I tend to get a little lost when I'm trying to come over and reach to the same area. So I'm actually going to leave it at that for now. Jump over here, start around the same area. Still going to start around the shoulder area. I'm going to reach down. Because again, I do get lost when I'm on my way to that end point. So it helps me personally if I just skip it and go right to the end. Now I can change the shape afterward. I can do the same thing for the other side. Again, trying to keep symmetry in mind, but if you're going the opposite direction, it's going to be a little more difficult. So don't be so hard on yourself. If you need to erase as many times as you need to, then go for it. And again, I jumped over to the other side because I just need a little help along the way. And if it helps you to maybe change angles a bit, because I feel like I draw better going the other way. See, I'm right-handed, and I feel like my hand feels better if I draw to the left. for whatever reason. I'm gonna try and tweak this one.
Isn't there
Definitely
a
gonna
way
need.
to like do some kind of half of it and then fold it and it just makes a mirror image and then we look brilliant?
Oh, you know, maybe if you were
Wow.
using inks or
That sounds messy.
something. I know. Fun,
Okay.
but messy. If I find a way, I will let y'all know. I've just gotten so used to just eyeballing things because I don't know, just what I did when I was growing up and trying to learn how to draw. Now, say maybe I wanted to, I don't know, change the look of these bottom wings right here. I know I already told you guys that I wanted to add the little thing coming out down here. But what if I wanted to make it a little more wavy? What I'm doing is I'm using that initial line that we just drew as a guide. So if I wanted to keep it this way, I can always take my eraser and erase my initial line. And then all I'm left with is the wavy lines here. I could do the same thing with these lines as well. So just kind of think about what you want to do. This is your butterfly. I want you guys to be happy with it. Now, do I really want the wavy lines though? I don't think I do. Same thing if you wanted to, I don't know, maybe make it a little bit more boxy. So let's say I keep these angles and kind of adjust it that way. So it looks a little bit different this way. It actually looks kind of like a guitar pick, where if the guitar pick's end was attached to the butterfly. I like that. I'm actually going to change the other side. I'm going to keep it that way.
I want to go get a guitar pick down.
Yeah, totally just trace it.
Wrong size though.
Oh man. Let's see. How am I going to match it to this side? There we go. Not too bad. Now, since we're using a lot of pencil, keep in mind that the more we move our hands across the page, the more the oils on our hands are gonna scrape away at the graphite. So just be wary of that. Your pictures might become a little blurry eventually. Now, I do want to add those little things coming out. I just realized that this bottom wing is actually just a little small. I'm going to adjust it. There. Just need to adjust the size. Okay. So in order to add these little things sticking out right here, I'm going to start on one end and have it come out. And then I'm going to try to do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to start out pretty thin, but then it's going to taper out. And it's going to become a little bit more like a drop shape. And you're more than welcome to erase this line right here if you want to, like so. Now, I tried to make this part come out of the middle of that bottom wing. So I'm going to jump to the other side and try to do the middle of this bottom wing. Now take your time with it. It's going to taper. It's going to become more of a drop shape as I widen it out at the end. Now, some butterflies, they have like a circle or some sort of other drop shape in the middle of this bottom area. You're welcome to draw that now if you want to. Sometimes it's completely black. Sometimes it's actually irregular shaped down here, as in like it's more wavy on the bottom. And there we have it. How we feeling about our butterflies? You're more than welcome to show it to me if you need a little opinion. I see some thumbs up, so that's good.
How much erasing?
Yeah, it's a lot of erasing for sure. Here are the other examples, just in case you need them. Put those up for a second there. And I definitely want to be able to put in our butterflies, if you want more than one, as well as our flowers before we put in the background. So we're going to focus on the things that are closer to the viewer, and then later on we'll do the background. If that makes sense. And again, always think about your colors. Another idea is to think about whether or not you want an additional pattern, which we'll work on afterwards. I chose my favorite kind of pattern, which is really just a spiral. I love the spirals. I love doing them in everything that I have. But you know, you can keep it simple. You don't have to do that. I'm always looking up patterns on Pinterest. I love Pinterest. All right, guys. So decide if you want to keep the bottom wings on top of the top wings or below the top wings. And go ahead and erase one of these middle lines. So maybe I'll do mine a little bit differently. And I'll put my top wing on top. All I have to do is erase this part. Fix the end here.
So I guess
Do this.
technically if the bottom wing is visible, then you're looking at the bottom side of the, and then you'd see legs, right?
I feel like, yeah, like the legs, if you wanted to draw them, they'd come out from here.
Yeah.
Right about, I think the legs are like, I think they're situated on the shoulders, around the shoulders. Now I don't want to draw the legs just yet. We'll do that later, if you even want legs.
Yeah.
All right. Now, same thing with the antenna. I'll draw the antennas much later. In fact, I may even choose to draw the antennas even like next week after I put in all of my background. It really just kind of depends. I think for these antennas, I had chosen to color them in using my Sharpie, so actually it doesn't really matter so much. But had I chosen to color them in with watercolor, then they might run if you put your watercolor, if like whenever you put your watercolor background, you may accidentally catch a little bit of the color you put in there. So if you plan on putting it on later, do so with a Sharpie. I definitely would recommend that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to draw the patterns now. So I want to break this down for you, okay? Just a little closer. So I always like to draw the outer portions first, so the black outline. And yours does not have to be wavy like mine is. And you saw how much care I took to try and make sure both sides were symmetrical. mostly the same size. And even then, I still ran into a few issues where this one was a little bit smaller. This one's a little larger, so I had to squeeze in a few elements. A few elements look like they're a little bit closer together, like over here. There's less space than this side. Those are just tiny details. So I would recommend, I don't know, like, I don't want to say try not to get too worked up about it, but I know how difficult that can be sometimes. What I like to do is even when I'm doing the patterns, I like to constantly look back and forth and only do the big things first. So I would consider this black outline, that's a big thing. These green spots right here, that's a big thing. And then anything smaller than that, like these circles, those are come later. The lines that you see here, those were the very last things that I did. And last, I'm just gonna call them bones, okay? Like, who was it that said it last week when we did the drawing? I
I'm
think
not
it
gonna
was
out her,
Karen, she
but
called
she's
them
here.
bones. I
Oh,
love
yeah, I
it.
said bones, but I
That
think
was
it's more like
Karen.
skeletal structure,
Yes,
Oh,
skeletal
bones.
structure.
right? Isn't
I
that better?
love it.
Skeletal structure, just say it 3 times fast.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but butterfly bones is just brilliant. I don't know. I love thinking about
It is
butterfly
brilliant.
bones.
It is brilliant. So I'm just gonna
And then
call
maybe
them
we can call the
butterfly
antennas
bones.
like their antlers.
Antlers. We could even draw antlers if we wanted to. I love it. So that's what I'll refer to this line work back here. Those are the bones. Um, but this part right here, you guys don't have to exactly draw these little, and I don't even know what to call this shape right here. You'd think that I'd be better at naming my shapes, but I'm not. I just draw them. I don't name them. So I'm actually going to start off with the outline, and then I'll do this part right here, but you don't have to draw these parts, okay? I want to actually bring back this one too, because this one right here, I want to say I actually started off with the lines for the skeletal structure on this one. So this is that one here does not even have these little green components. So I wanted to point that out to you. Now, that outline that I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go ahead and start right here. And I'm just going to draw a very basic structure. This structure can be thinner or it can be thick, but I'm going to start out thin because I can always make it a little bit thicker later. Basically, it's just an inner outline. They tend to be a little bit thicker on the corners here, on this corner and the upper corner that you can't really see because it's off the page, but I will show you in this one. It tends to be a little bit thicker depending on the butterfly. But again, it just depends on the butterfly. So you're more than welcome to look up some wing structures if you'd like. But I say go with your heart. I always say that.
Well, I'm proud that you're using the word structure.
You know, I will try.
I'm
Like
just
saying it, like you said, saying it
bones
5
and
times.
skeletal. It's like, it's the structure. That's what it is.
It is, because it is. So here, I'm going to keep in mind that it's going to be a little bit thicker right there. And then it's going to taper closer to the edge. And again, I can already see my my hand is smudging all the graphite, so I'm wanting to go and erase it. Then I have to remember that we are going to go over it with some Sharpie. So we will be able to erase it quite a bit later. Those Sharpie lines are going to solidify everything in place. So I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom here. So again, Start off with the basic structure, gonna taper as it gets closer to the body. And there we have it. Now, here's where you can modify it. So if you wanted to, you could make one end bigger, you can make it a little wobbly. So I've done that, made it a little wobbly just at this end. I do highly encourage you guys to create your own sort of pattern. So there's going to be a lot of erasing involved, and that's okay. You may change your mind too, and also that's totally fun. There we have it. Pretty happy with that. This is not a specific species of butterfly. I'm just winging it. No pun intended.
You know, I'm not visual and I never thought about butterflies and what they look like. And you were going, you can choose any kind you like. I'm like, I don't know what butterflies look like. And then all last week, everywhere I went, I saw butterflies. I was at Ross and they
That's
had shirts with butterflies. And I was paying at a grocery store and the woman had a necklace with butterflies.
that's you know, it's really funny you mention it. I feel like that happens to me with cars all the time. Somebody talks about a specific type of car, and suddenly I see 10 of them on the road in a week.
Yeah, that would happen to me with that. And then like trees, you know, I never thought about trees and drew them. And there's a tree in front of my house. I'm like, oh, look at that bark. Just like
Yeah,
meadows. Draw
patterns in it, lots of patterns.
the pattern.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and draw this little shape right here. I like to do this part because I feel like it's a common shape within butterflies, but not too. I mean, not every butterfly has this shape though. But I like to draw it anyway, just because I think it's pretty too. So I'm going to start with my biggest one. I feel like my biggest one should probably be in the middle. So I'm going to start where I always start, by the shoulders. And again, I always get lost whenever I go too far up. So I jump right back down to my starting point in order to basically follow the shape on the other side. And then again, I'm going to jump to the other side and do it over here. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do it to the other side. Take your time with it. At this point, you can jump ahead if you want to and draw circles. So in the original picture, plenty of circles up here. I have a large circle here. My biggest advice to you would be to start with the largest components. So these guys, these green things here. And then just keep getting smaller. So my smallest circles out here, I did these last. Same thing with these guys over here. These were last. So let's see, I've got that there. I'll go ahead and do another one below it. And if you guys are lost for ideas, there is no shame in Googling a butterfly. In fact, that I always do that. I never start from scratch. I always will take an idea and I'll see what Pinterest has to offer. If I like certain components from different images or different pieces of artwork, then I'll take those components and I'll smush them all together in one piece of artwork. That's basically how I make it mine. Let's see, maybe I'll do one of these down here. Don't forget to work on the bottom wings as well. And if anybody would like to share their butterflies, just, you know, to inspire others, then please do so. We'd love to see it. Let's see, I'll probably put maybe a circle up here. No, I'm going to put an upside down teardrop shape. Yeah,
I can share mine, but I pretty much copied you and just did a few things different.
that's
Wow.
really pretty.
Mhm.
And you have a flower too. Very nice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really nice.
I went for that too.
Love it. Thank
Mine
you,
doesn't look
Barbara.
so nice.
Oh, here you are, Sherry. I'm going to spotlight you. There you are.
Oh yeah.
It's
There.
nothing.
Yeah, I love it, Sherry.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I've just sort of done the drop shape here. And again, you guys don't have to do any drop shapes. Just want to add them in there. So I put this one in between these two shapes. I'm going to try to do the same thing on this side. And I'm just going to progressively get a little smaller every time. And I want to, after I add these circles at the top here, maybe I'll do another circle down. Maybe I'll do 2 circles down here. Yeah, 2 circles there. So I want to show you how to create those, the skeletal structure. Hope you're proud of me. So actually, I think it might be easier to show you with this one. So I like to break things down into patterns. And that's how I was able to teach myself how to draw butterflies and really lots of things. But I like to start off with by breaking things down into smaller components. So I see here lots of smaller lines, but also longer lines too. So I started off with the longest lines first. And then I added the shorter lines in between and created my own pattern that way. So you can see down here in this bottom wing. So I started off with the longer lines coming out here and then finished them off with just one smaller line in each section. So when you look at it from afar, it looks like there's a lot there. Same thing with this one. So I can come over here, and I actually think I started with this area. All I did was I created an imaginary line, had it go underneath this green portion. It jumped out and reached this end. Then I did the same thing, and then I had it branch out into this area. I don't know if you guys can see my pencil lines. I'm drawing on top of my drawing. So I started off with this one, went back down, did this line. And then after that, I went and I connected the two like that. Then I went to the other section, connected, 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 these sections. Then all I had to do later was take my Sharpie, and whenever I was outlining them, I made these ends thicker. I thickened it up with the Sharpie so that it looks more complicated than it actually is. So I did the same thing little by little to this side. So what I did was I did the 2 long lines here, then I jumped over, did the 2 long lines over here. That way, as long as I can break it down into smaller pieces, I'm not forgetting anything in between. So another example for the bottom wings. I started with the easiest lines. So this line started down here and I had it reach the black part. Then I decided it needed more. Well, actually first I decided I needed to do the other side. I did it to the other side. And then I decided it needed more. So I made this one, then I jumped, made this one, jumped over again, made this one that went underneath the circle here. So I had to jump over to the other side. Did the same thing. Now at that point, you can tell I was going kind of fast with this because not everything is completely the same. If I were to jump over here, this one can go underneath this circle as well, but this one can't. And that's how you can tell. I was a little sloppy with it. So there's my secret. But I knew I needed to fill in this space here. So I added this one there. Plenty of ways to disguise your little mistakes, and they still look perfectly fine.
Or
So,
imperfectly fine,
imperfectly fine. Thank you.
like we are.
Can always get Sharon to put that amazing spin on it. Now, let's add some bones to our butterfly. Again, we've got to break it down. So for me, I feel like there's a lot of empty space up here. So that's plenty of space for a line. Um, Again, I always like to draw things beforehand with my finger just to see where it goes. So if I were to put it there, it would probably be above this teardrop shape. Same thing with this one. So ta-da, there we go. So that's the first line. Now I'm going to, I know this needs something right here. So I'm actually going to put a line going from the top of this shape to the end. Repeat on the other side. Do it to that. Gonna jump down. I'll do it again here. Reach to the end. Jump to the other side and reach to the end. Now let's see. Maybe I can make a line that goes here. I'm really just talking out loud at this point. I don't know if you guys are doing your own thing or not. Perfectly fine if you are going with what I'm doing. Let's see, and I know I need to do more on the bottom wing. Start, maybe I can put one right there. Do the same thing on the other side. Right there, put one there. I'm basically encasing these circles. Whatever I do to one side, I'm always going to do it to the other side. So now that I have my larger, simpler lines, I can go in and perhaps make some more. Maybe make it a little more complicated if I wanted to. So let's see what I can do. Maybe I can separate this line, turn that into 2. Same thing on the other side. Maybe I can, I know that some butterflies, they have almost like a diamond shape. So I know that for some, the line extends downward from the opposite direction. Now this is a little more complicated. I don't have this in the original picture, but what I did here, just drew a line there. And I'm making my diamond shape down like that. In case you blinked and you missed it, I have to do it on the other side. So I'm going to jump to the corresponding area right in here. I'm going to start from the black part of the wing, stretch it down. Well, I think I stretched a little too much. I stretched it down a little bit. Getting carried away, that's all. Stretch down a little bit. And then create 2 other lines that separate. That way it's sort of like a diamond shape. I think I'll just do, trying to figure out where else I can do that. I think I can do that right here, maybe. Put that there. So I'm making another line. I'm actually separating this even further. Jump into the other side to make it even. I want that diamond shape again, so I'm going to start at the black line. Go down a little bit. Next opposing lines. Jump and do it again to the corresponding side, which will be right here. Make that line going down. Then complete the diamond shape. There we have it. Now I feel like that's a lot for my butterfly, so I'm going to keep it as is. Now, let me see. We have a rose to create. So I'll give you guys another minute to finish up this part. You can actually outline these anytime you're ready. Anytime you're happy with those lines, just go over it with your Sharpie. I chose to go over it with a thicker line or a thicker Sharpie at first, but then for the finer lines, I used the fine Sharpie, extra fine, excuse me. I want to show you guys how to create the rose, but we'll come back to the butterfly in a few minutes. Yolanda says she has to go. Good to have you, Yolanda. Same thing with Deborah. See y'all next week. Now I want to show you guys how to create the rose. So it's a very simple rose. And in fact, I think, I'm trying to think back to when I drew this. I think I actually had tried to create a poppy at first, but then I was like, you know what? This actually should be a rose. So it turned into a rose. Again, we're going to start off with our pencil, and we'll start off in the middle with an oval, and then we'll ruffle it up a little bit in the middle, and then we'll create petals that just progressively become a little bit bigger every time. They start off more as a triangle-ish shape, not exactly triangle, but they sort of morph into something else a little bit later, especially when it comes to the two or three outer biggest petals that you have. So if you like to do a different flower, you're more than welcome to, please. I highly encourage that. So we'll start off with that circle. And because I want a big flower, I'm going to start off small in the center. So there's that oval. And then it gets a little ruffly in the middle. You sort of create a bunch of squigglies in the middle there. Hope it's better. And then that original picture, I was only able to get 4 petals in there. But if you can get more, then more power to you. It comes out and then the opposite direction, and it goes all the way down. Feel free to move your picture around if that just makes it easier for you. The next petal, I did overlap my lines because I feel like it makes it easier to see that way. Later on, I can go in and I can erase that. So again, I like to overlap my lines. And again, I'm gonna have it come outward, upward, and then downward. Outward, upward, downward. You can actually keep that if you like the way that looks too. I say that because I really like the way that looks. Now, my next set is going to be much bigger than that first set. And again, as many as you can squeeze around there, totally fine. So outward, upward, downward, and back again. Upward, upward, downward, back again. Jump to the opposite side because I don't want to get lost. I'm especially when I'm doing flowers, I'm constantly jumping around the flower so that I can mostly make it as symmetrical as possible. Outward, upward, downward. Now I'm going to create my next row. And again, these are much larger. And roses in particular, they tend to droop, or at least the petals tend to droop a little bit more on one or two of the petals on the outside. So that's why these are much larger because they tend to droop downwards more. So I'll start off with the one that's not as large, and that one's going to be in the back. So let's see, let's jump out. Gets a little bit bigger as I go downward. The opposite end, definitely a very large petal. Now I was only able to squeeze in 3 petals this time, and I like the way that looks, so I'm going to keep that. Now, if you can squeeze in another one, then go for it. I encourage you to do so. Now, here's where you can definitely erase some of these petals that are overlapping. I happen to actually really love the way this looks, and I think it would go really well with the mosaic pattern in the background. So I'm personally going to keep this, but the original, if you like this rose better, the original is not overlapping. So you can go ahead and erase those lines if you'd like. I have also added these texture lines. So all of these lines here, some of them were done with the larger Sharpie, and then others done with the thinner Sharpie much later, because I felt like it needed a little bit more, but that was just me. So in order to create that, if you like that effect, now you don't have to put that in there, but if you like that effect, and what I did was I very slowly with my pencil, one by one, created these lines, and I jumped around from every petal. I started off with a set of 3 lines, but then eventually it became a little more than that. They somewhat bend to the shape of the flower, or I'm sorry, the shape of the petal. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Once I was able to reach all the petals, I started to add more and more, little by little. And again, that's only if you like this effect. Always jumping around, adding some to the back there. Now, personally, I'm probably going to erase those lines for myself, but I just wanted to show you guys what that looked like and how to draw it, just in case you liked it. So here's the 2 side by side.
So instead, Hannah, you're going to not do the lines, but then just actually trace all the overlapping. So there'll be a lot more than your original.
Yeah, so actually, I can show you right now. This is how I'm going to approach it, since I am going to do a lot of erasing on here. I know that my Sharpie marker is permanent, and that includes with the eraser. So I can actually go over it as is. And you guys can too if you're happy with it. I know that since I don't like the lines, so the same lines I tried to copy from here, all I have to do is just avoid them with the Sharpie and then erase it later. So here's what I
Okay.
mean. I'll try to go a little faster so you can see. I just need to do the outlines of them first. And again, you're more than welcome to start going over both your butterfly and your flower as soon as you're ready. If you're happy with it, you can go ahead and just outline it. There we go. So for me, I've outlined my flower, but I mentioned I don't want to keep those lines. So I'm going to take my eraser, and it's permanent already. So as long as I just give it a couple seconds to dry,
Okay.
it's like magic. Ta-da.
So clean. Yeah.
I know. Now I'll keep this in mind also when I'm doing my butterfly too, because as we were drawing it, it smudged all over the place. So those smudges can be erased after I go over it with my Sharpie. Just give it a couple seconds to dry and you should be good. Now, your flower or flowers, if you want to do multiple, it's going to need a stem. So with this one, I actually disguised my stem into the background by just sort of going right over it with this line. But this is a rose. So what I did was I first created the stem and then I created the thorns afterward. So I feel like this is probably a good spot for the stem to go down. So I'm going to draw it. And then I can draw the thorns. I think thorns are actually pointing downwards, and I didn't really realize that whenever I was drawing this rose. So they're kind of pointing upwards, but real roses
Oh.
are pointing downward. There you have it. They sort of look like hooks. And then from there, I can outline. And it's totally fine if they're not perfect. They're not supposed to be perfect. There you have it. Now I will outline my my butterfly, but I want to show you guys how to put that background in first, just in case anyone needs to leave by now. If you do need to leave, you're more than welcome to show us your picture if you'd like. Any takers? Anybody? Okay, we'll keep going. All right, so
Wait, sorry. What
I
did you say?
if you want to show your work in case you have to leave by now,
Oh,
you're more
right.
than welcome to do so. Oh, Sharon. I see you, Sharon. Let me add you so we can see you.
Oh,
There
gosh, there's
they
two
are.
butterflies.
I know. I know you did two of them, and I love the wing shapes too. And I see you tried to do
Yay.
the skeletal structure in there too. That looks really good.
Yeah,
Is that a third or is that a flower that I see at the
it's a
bottom? Oh,
flower.
there it is. That's really pretty.
Right,
Awesome.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye,
See you next
Sharon.
week.
All right.
See you next week. Cool. Anyone else need to leave? All right, cool. We will continue. So I did create the background using my pencil, and I tried to think of stained glass. So what I did was I started on my easiest area. So that means that there wasn't anything in the way. So right up here, I started with this one first, then I just sort of traced it back down. Let's see, what else did I do for that? I think I did this one next. And mostly I just wanted different sections that were a little bit more vertical, but also overlapping too. So I'm gonna pick an area here that seems like it's the easiest. So perhaps right here, perhaps I can trace it down. And I'm always gonna be pointing because I do want to be able to see exactly where I'm going. Maybe I want it to go here, drag that down. And then I'm just making this up as I go. I feel like it would look nice if this sort of line ran into here. Or, ballpark area. That's okay. I didn't really reach my destination, but that's fine. So same here. If I can drag that upward, I have a flower in the way, so I'm gonna jump up and up. So let's see, that's looking like a pretty big space, so I'll probably address that later. Once again, we're just addressing the larger parts first. Larger lines, then we'll go in and we'll add smaller lines. So let's see, that angle going down here, make it go down. I want to be able to still keep track of these sections later. And I don't want to put too many, just because it'll be a lot easier to paint them in if they're sort of large. I mean, of course, we're going to have some small areas that really can't be helped, but if at least most of them are larger areas, it'll be a lot easier. I want a little bit more crisscrossy, so maybe I'll have this line jump up, crisscross up there. Maybe one more crisscross area up here. I'm just talking out loud at this point. I want that to go that way. And I can still trace every line. Now, some of these lines, I intentionally put them close to other lines to create smaller sections. So we can see this blue line, pretty thin, also jumping up underneath the butterfly. Same thing with this one here. So I'm going to add those smaller areas now. And then maybe I'll just do one over here, just to make it a little more interesting on this side. Okay, one more. Maybe like over here. I think I'm good.
You are.
I'm
good.
liking it. Thank you. Thank you. Now, as promised, I'm going to go ahead and outline my butterfly. Now, here's the thing about the black area. I wish that I had actually colored the entire black area inside the wing. I wish I'd colored that in Sharpie marker at first, but I had decided that since it's such a large area, it might be easier if I painted it in with my watercolor. So that is what I did. However, I had decided later on to go back over it with more colors. I felt like this orange and this yellow back here were way too bright, so I tried to tone it down, and I ended up smearing some of the black back there from the wing. It just sort of bled onto the picture. So in hindsight, if you feel like you might be one of those people who goes back in there to try and modify it later, then I would recommend coloring the entire thing in black Sharpie. But if you don't think you're going to do that, then that's okay. You can actually fill it in with your black watercolor later. So it's just some observations and some difficulties I had with it later that I wanted you guys to be aware of. The body, I really just colored it in with the black Sharpie because I really wasn't concerned about that. Just watch out. Whatever you color underneath it might bleed through depending on your paper. So just watch out for that. I definitely do want to go over my butterfly with my Sharpie before I do the background. I probably will color in the wings with the Sharpie, just in case I decide to change it. That's why
Hannah,
I'm going in.
Are you using a fine point Sharpie for that? That seems pretty fine.
It's pretty, it
Yeah,
says
okay.
fine point, but it's pretty thick.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. All right,
Yeah.
I'll go you.
Yeah, the next one is the ultra fine point. So that's what I'm going to use for the lines on the inside.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I'm using this one is because I already know that I want to color it in with this marker. Actually, I can do that now. Especially with the bottom wing, just to, that way you guys can see it. Take your time with it.
This has been a good distraction for me because I feel like a 2-year-old. I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go to class.
It's a Monday, I'm telling you.
Well, for me, it's not Monday. I don't know. Every
Oh.
day it's Saturday.
Is that good or bad?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have a value for it. It's just, it
Okay.
is.
It
It
is.
just is. Yeah. Let's see, I've decided I want another circle. Yeah, whenever I'm teaching in the hospital, I still say things like that.
Mm.
Sometimes people stay, for weeks on end on the oncology unit.
Yeah. You can't tell what day it is out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? Because usually in the hospital, the weekends are quieter. They don't have all those extra staff.
Well, that's true.
Even though I've been in
Yeah.
the hospital for a long time.
Yay.
Well, only because I used to work as a nurse, but that was a really long time.
I don't think I've been to the hospital to work on a weekend now that I think about it. Mostly just there on the weekdays. They are always busy.
Yeah, weekends are quieter
Yeah.
because the art teacher doesn't come in.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I swear I feel like Santa Claus sometimes because if they don't want to do an art project with me, that's okay. I always have like goodie bags. So I'm just there handing things out like it's Christmas. I love it though.
With only art supplies, right? Not just like candy or anything.
Yeah, yeah, that I should make that distinction. No candy, but
Yeah.
art supplies. Or coloring books. We have coloring books we give out.
I used to
Yeah,
work
my
at.
hospital. Oh,
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, my hospital, we have it's called Hand Healing Art something, but they made coloring books from I think some local artists, or at least I think I work at Duke, so people that work at Duke, they made some art and they made it into a coloring book and they hand that out.
That's cool.
So what's your job at the hospital?
I am a medical librarian.
Cool. What does that entail?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. So we obviously answer all, I mean, there's patient questions. Now we're more restricted because of COVID, but mostly people, clinicians, but I mostly work within the school of medicine, and I serve the physician assistants and the medical students. So I teach within their curriculums, evidence-based medicine and like searching for the evidence and that kind of thing, critical appraisal,
Oh, okay.
a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I'm reading the book. I'm listening to it. It's kind of painful to listen to, called American Sickness by Elizabeth Rosenthal. And she talks
Right.
about, how healthcare has become a business and how it's really been destroyed in the last 35 years.
Oh,
So
yeah.
one of the things she's saying is, oh yeah, now they're pushing this lingo of evidence-based medicine. What was it before?
Well, I mean, it's been around since
Good
92,
point.
but yeah,
I know,
when
but
I first
but
when I
to
first started, I was like, wait, what did you do before? But it's always been, this is what I was taught. This is what we've always done.
right. I mean, they've been
And
talking about evidence-based medicine for, I'm gonna say 15 years at least. And
oh yeah.
but like, what were you doing before? Just guessing.
Well, no, I mean, I was mostly right, like what your mentor taught you or what we've done. But yeah, there was no good way to find and synthesize all that information quickly. So things have changed radically, but yeah, it's phenomenal the amount of I mean, what I call now medical information is like a fire hose. It's just there's so much of it all the time. And how do you expect anyone to actually like, keep up with that? So it's like a good and bad thing.
Hmm.
Well, it's good,
So,
but
so as a medical librarian, is it your job? So you mentioned teaching, so I was
Mhm.
curious about that part.
I do a lot. Yeah, mostly within the for our medical students and our biomedical students and our physician assistant students. I teach them how to how to ask questions, because that's really hard,
Oh,
how to find the information and how to also critically appraise it, because just because they find it doesn't mean it's good information that they should use.
yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So then
Yeah.
what is your training underneath the medical librarian?
I have a master's in library and information science, and I mean, mostly now the rest of the biomedical sciences, like I'm an anthropologist by trade, but 17 years at Duke as a medical librarian. So that's most of my training.
So just a quick word about what I'm doing real quick.
Oh
Before
yeah,
I interrupt
please.
too much. Um, so I have begun doing the outlines for the background. don't be discouraged if you can't exactly follow the lines that you're creating, the lines that you've created already in pencil. You might find an interesting texture or an interesting pattern that's emerged, like this line, for example, right here. I could not make the mark. I couldn't quite follow the original line, but I actually love the way it looks when it's separated. So I'm going to emphasize that. So just wanted to say that, don't get discouraged with it. It is a lot, what's the word? I feel like it's a lot easier to create more confident lines when I'm able to go a little bit faster. That's also why I mentioned that as well. Because again, couldn't quite make the mark, but that's okay. Still a nice line because I was able to go a little bit more quickly. It might get a little bit more tricky as you get closer to your butterfly. So again, don't get discouraged. I already created the outline. So if you happen to go a little bit on the inside of your butterfly with your marker, I have this nice little cushion with this outline. I've already colored it in with my marker. So again, it's a lot of cushion, so it's okay. So all I have to do is continue forward and just see if I can break it up into smaller chunks closer to my flower. Any questions about that? Okay, continue.
Hannah,
Uh-huh. Yes.
I have to go. I'll show you
Yeah.
my art here. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, we're actually just about done here. Judy, let me put you on spotlight.
Oh, I can see it. My wings aren't
That's really
totally
pretty.
My wings aren't totally symmetrical, but I don't like to draw symmetrical.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
love it though. I
Nothing's
really love
perfect.
it.
It
She
actually
has
kind of
so
looks
much
like it's in,
personality.
yeah, it
Yeah,
kind
I
of looks
I
like,
gotta do the thin marker on all this other
Yeah.
stuff here, but
Yeah, but I really love it, Judy.
Your-
thank you.
your butterfly kind of looks like it's in motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
now there we go. I like that. I like
Yeah, it
things in
does.
motion.
It
Thank
Think
you.
about
does.
that too.
Have a good
Thanks,
week.
Judy.
Good
And
night.
enjoy the sun. It is snowing in Buffalo still.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Good luck with that, Judy.
Oh my gosh. All right. Have a good week.
Night.
Good night.
Anyone else like to show? I'm actually pretty much finished with my picture. I mean, I just need to make these lines in the background, but all we're doing is outlining. And then of course, don't forget to clean up your lines by erasing it with your eraser. Whenever you're completely finished, we can get rid of all that smudging.
So we don't have to fill, you're not going to fill in all of your butterfly with Sharpie tonight?
Honestly, I feel like I've filled it in as much as I want to, really, because
Okay.
I've gotten all the black areas. For me, I know you guys can see with the original picture, I thickened up some of these lines down here. And if anyone wants me to show them how they did that, I can definitely show you how I did that. But all I did was pick a few lines to thicken up around the edges, and that was it. But yeah, I'm done with the outlining. I mean, if you want to go in there and add your own patterns, kind of like these little swirlies that I added, you can certainly do that. For
Because
me,
next
I
week
didn't
we're just
really.
painting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next week is purely painting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll show you mine.
Yeah. Is that you, Marianne?
That's me. Yep.
Perfect. I'm gonna spotlight you
Oh.
now. There you are.
Yay.
I love it. Oh man, that's so pretty. Like the
Oh, thank
inside,
you.
and I love the shape of your wings.
Thank you. I'm kind of proud of myself, Hannah. So thanks
Yeah,
for walking me through this.
you should be. I'm glad you're proud of yourself.
Yeah, this was
Awesome. I love
good.
it.
I'm looking forward to next week when we paint it.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Thanks, Marianne.
Thanks.
Good night.
Well, have a good night. It was a great class.
Night, guys. Night, Marianne. So
Good
cool,
night.
Susie. I see
Here's
you. Oh,
mine.
I see
Yeah.
Susie and Tony. I'll get you Tony after Susie, okay?
Oh, okay.
Oh
There
my,
you
wow.
are. Wow, that's a big butterfly. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a flower
Yeah.
down here. I don't know if you can see. I have to
Yeah.
trace the flower still. So
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that. It's really pretty. And I love all your lines in the background too.
oh, thank you.
It goes so well with the shapes inside your butterfly too.
Yeah, can't wait to paint it. So
Yeah.
Yay, me too. Thanks, Susie.
thank you.
See you next week. Tony,
Bye.
you're next.
Let me see, Tony.
There we go.
Oh,
Oh, it's pretty.
lots of bones.
Yes.
I know. I know, lots of bones, but they're so well drawn too.
Yes.
And your flowers are adorable. I love them.
And the medical librarian is calling it bones. Okay.
I enjoy that part of it.
Accurate. So awesome. Thank you, Tony.
Good night, Tony.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Night,
Well, I'll
guys.
show mine and go eat dinner.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, let me spotlight you now.
Oh, I
All
like
right,
that.
Brandy.
Ah,
Oh, man.
So I feel like I still have to do the bottom part, but
yeah, I mean, just the outline, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
so
super
I should
pretty.
not do all black around all the edges.
Actually, I would do the black.
Okay.
It just depends on how thick you want to make it because on mine, I did outline everything with the Sharpie.
Okay.
So, so
Well,
just
I'll consider
depends
that
on
homework.
what size. Yeah, homework for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
I love it,
Awesome.
Brandy.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Oh, you
Ooh.
have leaves.
I know.
Yeah, I put them in because I needed to fill the space, I thought.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very what is it? Beauty and the Beast. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Or is
So
it going to be
pretty.
watercolor next week?
Yes, watercolor. Well, I see you at least right now. Okay, I'm gonna spotlight you now.
It made it really light, so it would be.
Oh, hey. Oh, that pattern though is so pretty. I can see that.
I'm
That's
giving
so
myself a lot of
cool, Karen.
permission.
No, honestly, like you did so well with it. And I'm really not just saying it.
And I did
I wish
over and over and over. I kept doing it. And then I actually saved a draft of my butterfly and I didn't like it. And I started over and I went back to the draft. So
Oh. Well, I see the pattern on the inside and you did so well with it, especially with how small your butterfly is.
you know what I discovered?
Mhm.
I made it small because here's an advantage that I have with this because I actually thought it was too small, but I can make my canvas bigger.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I can move it around and make it bigger.
Yeah. You did really well with that, Karen. Oh, Barbara, I see your picture. That's gorgeous. I'm loving the wings. I really love that. And I don't know if you're
Oh, there's
speaking
your
or not because you're muted, but oh, yeah, there's your flower.
Yeah, so I just left the flower because I'm not sure. I wanted it to be like a chrysanthemum. So I
Oh,
just kind of
really?
wanted to leave it like that for now because I'm not sure what's going to happen with the watercolor.
So,
So,
yeah, I see what you mean.
and I
Yeah,
tried And I tried to make the bottom crazier. So, because I had thought that it would look nice if it was like greener tones on the bottom and then like lighter
Ooh.
bluer tones on the top.
Ooh, that'll be really pretty.
That was my vision.
Oh, I cannot wait for to see what this looks like because that they're both your butterfly and your chrysanthemum are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
you
I
did.
can't wait to see what it's going to look like either.
Yeah, and well, since you have so many little sections, it may take you a little bit longer. But hopefully the idea of like moving your colors from one section to another, hopefully that'll help you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
we'll see how
I
that goes.
tried to break them up enough too that I could do different colors also, so
Mhm.
that there was enough like trapped shapes in the bottom that I could do different colors.
Oh
And
yeah,
then,
definitely layer them too.
mhm.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Cool, thank you, Barbara.
This was so fun tonight.
I know, I love this. I sometimes wonder if we should do more drawing based activities now. But I'm open to suggestions. If anybody has them, you're more than welcome to email me, hannah@ncan.org.